Hello, everyone. Well, it's time to interview another person who's running on our in our municipal election, which is on October 15th. And my guest is Ian Carmichael, and he is running for mayor. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me today, Nancy. It's a pleasure to be here and be able to talk to your audience about civic events and how we can make things better.
Yeah, it's cool. Have you ever run for office before?
I have, actually. I ran in 2008 as a councillor, and I came up just short. I was the seventh highest poller.
Okay.
Need 6 to be on the council seat, but
Okay,
yeah.
right. So what made you decide to run again and also to run for mayor?
Well, I'm a firm believer in our democracy and our democratic institutions. One of the things that was troubling to me on the lead up to the election was that there didn't appear to be anyone willing to step forward and contest the mayoral seat in particular. Because our democracy isn't served when we have an elected position that's filled as a coronation by acclamation.
Okay, right. Okay.
So that was one of the reasons.
Right.
But more importantly, we have some really significant issues and challenges ahead of us as a community. We all know that we've got economic concerns, we've got environmental concerns. Transportation is changing rapidly before us, as well as communications. And we really have to address some of those issues. We know they're in the pipe, we know they're coming at us. And there are things that we can do to be better and better prepared for the changes that are coming in a very short period of time.
Okay, so now how do you see you filling that role?
Well, I see myself as somebody that brings a lot of diverse business experience, life experience, and somebody that has a vision of where we're going and how we're going to get there. We know that the last 40 years have brought us to this point in time.
Right.
And we have to think, well, at this point in time, what is our community going to look like in the next 40 years? And I think my experience, particularly in my forestry background, I'm not a typical politician. I don't actually think in 4-year election or re-election cycles.
Okay.
I actually think in 4, 5, and 10 decade cycles.
I see. Okay.
So it's I bring that longer range view that I think we can do better as a community.
Okay. So what are you doing now as your work?
Right now, I work in the transportation sector. I work for Canadian National Railway. And you know, I've had experience in the forest industry, as I said, natural resource management, land use planning. These are some of the passions that I've grown to love in my career.
Right.
I also have experience in aviation. Was a commercial helicopter pilot.
Were you? Oh, I've never been in a helicopter.
Well, okay. It's the only way to fly.
I'd like to try sometimes. Now, I'm just because you worked in the forest industry, I'm just thinking when you hear about these forest fires, that must really hit hard.
Well, it does, and it also raises some concerns for our community. And you know, back in 2003, we had a tragic event in Kelowna where literally hundreds of people had their homes burned to the ground overnight.
Right.
And my experience in forestry tells me that, yeah, that's a distinct possibility. That are we prepared to deal with interface fires in our community? We had recent experience not even 2 weeks ago in the Hope Floods Laidlaw area, where an interface fire was dangerously close enough to caused the evacuation of a number of residences.
And look what happened at Lytton.
Lytton was another tragedy. Just actually in the last few hours, I saw a notice that we have an interface fire today in Chilliwack on Teskey Road.
Oh, no, somebody mentioned that on Facebook, actually.
Yeah.
Because actually my sister was saying she could hear all of the fire trucks and she didn't know where they were going, and somebody said it was up that area.
Yeah, it's an interface wildfire that is small, and hopefully, the services that we have available will be able to contain it and control it, so it doesn't cause any damage. But our fire services is one of the areas that I'm particularly concerned about, and I have been. I'm on record as far back as 2011 is stating that we really aren't prepared to deal with these types of situations, and it's from a public safety perspective something that I pay particular attention to, and one of the issues that I would like to bring forward to the council table. Right. We spend a lot of money on our public safety budget. When I first ran for council in 2008, I believe we had 6 full-time firefighters.
6?
6.
Okay. Wow.
We are still now, as a city of 100,000 people, we only have 40 firefighters.
Okay.
Full-time. The community just down the valley from us, Abbotsford, which has a significantly higher population, but even in 2008, Abbotsford had enough full-time firefighters to staff 7 complete halls. Okay. 24 hours a day. Right. 365 days a year.
Right. So why are we so behind with that?
These are choices.
Okay.
These are choices that governments have made over the last 40 years. I don't want to disparage any of the hard work of our paid on call firefighters.
Right.
They are dedicated individuals that, drop their lives at the drop of a hat and respond to community need. And they should be applauded. But the choices that have been made up to this point have been the choices of our local government. And I think we not only should be asking for better, we can do better.
Right, yeah. So now we're in a drought situation, which has been the longest one since, I forget, does it go back to 1800 and something? I can't remember.
I heard somebody say something about this is the second longest drought conditions that we've experienced in many years.
Yeah, so that affects us in many ways, right? Are we prepared, like, again, just for the water situation? If there is a forest fire close by, it takes a lot of water to put out a forest fire.
Yeah,
right?
It sure does.
Or if you got a bunch of homes going up at the same time, and it's kind of a scary situation.
It is, and there are things that we can do to help mitigate those risks. But again, that is the responsibility of our civic government to incorporate that into their plans. I know that the provincial government has some plans in place, some funding in place to do interface fire prevention, right? Cleaning up, fine fuels, etc. But I think we really have to take a closer look at it. Yes, in general,
for sure.
And
right now, let's switch topics.
Sure.
There's condos and apartment buildings are being built into all over the place, right? And there's so much traffic all the time. So in my perspective is that they build these places before the roads are ready to handle the influx of cars. Why is it done that way? Do you know?
Again, I can't speak for the councils that have been in place for the last 40 years. Chilliwack has a really unique sort of situation. Geographically on the map, we've got a really large footprint.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, established in the mid-50s.
Okay.
That Chilliwack was going to be concentrating its efforts on being an agricultural
Yes.
community. And that's great. We actually need the protection that was provided in the 1970s with the Agricultural Land Reserve to protect our agricultural lands. What it left us with was a very long, narrow island that runs from the Better Canal all the way to the Fraser River, which is referred to in planning circles as our urban containment zone.
Okay.
And one of the issues we've got with the urban containment zone and some expansion into the hillsides surrounding the community is that we've basically used up all of our land base.
Mm.
And unfortunately, we've filled it with one housing type, and that's single family white picket fences.
Right. I'm always curious how our country, like, and I'm talking about in general, doesn't take example from Europe. Like, I've been to Austria and they build up.
Yeah.
Because they have smaller road. I mean, I know we think we have such a big country, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we all live in this, basically in the cities.
Mm-hmm.
We don't spread out that far. So why is it that we think it's okay to just, spread these houses? And, you look at some of the huge homes, that single family homes, some of them are huge, like 600,000 square feet rather.
Well, I think we're sort of at a crossroads right now in Chilliwack, and we have choices to make. And I've been advocating for this for literally decades. I said in 2008 that Chilliwack doesn't have the luxury of WP can sell us Field of Dreams, where we build it and they will come.
Right.
Because, and I think the last couple of years has demonstrated this quite clearly, that we didn't build it and they still came.
Yeah.
So
yes.
So, there are things that, we are going to have to do differently.
Right.
We know that people are going to continue to come. We have a very compact city footprint.
Right.
And we can live within that compact city footprint. We will have to do things differently. Densities will increase, but with that brings the benefit of having concentrated populations where public transit costs as a whole become more cost effective because you're serving more customers. We can also work at building complete communities, having your work close to your residence,
right,
within walking, cycling, transit distances. These are all things that we can do to make this a more livable community. And those are some of the ideas that I've got that I'd like to bring to the table. I realize that I'm only one voice at that table.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was funny. One of the media organizations sent out a mayoral survey, and they asked, on a lineal scale of 1 to 5, are you in more of a consensus guy or are you more of a debate guy? And I thought, well, it's kind of an incomplete question, because the way you get to consensus is by having the debates.
Yeah. That's
So
somebody thought that questionnaire out.
Yeah.
Getting back to the traffic situation, like here, this condo, we have underground parking, and I don't know if that's the way that there's a building going up on Kip. I don't know if they're going to have underground parking. I sure hope so, because there's not a lot of parking area. And then this church at the corner here of Spadina and Yale is going to be another condo or apartment building, right? Where people because this section of Spadina where I live, I'm right at where the big businesses end, and then the rest is all housing apartments, right? So they have very little parking here, those businesses.
Mhm.
And anybody comes and visits, if we don't have a spot in the underground, they have to park on the road, of course, you know. And there was a time when the city had somebody come along with their little vehicle, and they used to mark people that were parking too long.
Mhm.
That no longer happens,
Right.
which is unfortunate. Now you have to call the city if you think somebody's like parking in a spot that they shouldn't. 2-hour parking.
Mhm.
Although I encourage people, just down the street there is unlimited parking, you know, so you can walk a little ways.
Yeah.
But that's the issue, you know. One of the things, like, personally, I'm not driving, so it doesn't matter for me,
Mhm.
but I see the problem, right? And
Mhm.
how do you fix those? Like, is there an easy fix?
Transportation infrastructure is going to be revolutionized over the next 15 years, largely is my guess.
Okay.
We've got some big breakthroughs that are going to be coming through. One of those breakthroughs is autonomous vehicles. I've read studies done by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in conjunction with the Department of Transportation in the United States.
Mhm.
Some of their estimates were that the private automobile may become obsolete by as early as 2035.
So what's an autonomous?
This is a car that can actually drive itself.
Oh, okay. I would buy one of those.
What's that?
I would buy one of those.
You know what? You wouldn't have to.
Oh, I see. It would just go around and picking up people?
Yeah,
Ah,
this is what they're
Oh.
you'll become the member. You won't own a Ford vehicle. You'll
Yeah.
become a member of the Ford Car Club,
I see. Okay.
and the vehicles will be able to essentially pick you up and drop you off wherever you want as you require it.
Well, one of the things is like, you know, there's buses all over here. And when I look, there's very few people on the buses. So why would the autonomous vehicle make a difference?
Because of the number of them and how quickly they would be able to respond, and it's point-to-point service.
Oh, okay. I see.
And literally with the communications, it's interesting because you'll be at the checkout line at Save On Foods
Hmm.
with all of your groceries, and your phone will be able to estimate how long it'll take you to get through that checkout line.
Okay.
Already have the car ordered for you, so that when you walk out the door,
It's there.
the car will go beep beep and your phone will go beep beep. The trunk will open and you put your groceries in.
That won't work for me. I don't have that on my phone.
Well, maybe the federal government will fix that, and we can have data and internet services become a public necessity utility.
Well, you know, I would think by that time, because you're talking about when do you see this?
Well, some estimates have said that as early as 2030. I'm not a fortune teller. I don't have a crystal ball, but I can see where the trends are going.
I was just questioning that only because, like a lot of people I know, like this building is a 55 and older,
Mhm.
and there's mostly older. Okay.
Mhm.
And a lot of people here don't have internet. They've never, a lot of seniors are kind of afraid of it, don't know how to use it, whatever like that. So they don't. Some of them might have a cell phone, and for them, that's like really hard enough, you know? So that wouldn't work for them. But if you're talking about in the future, the younger people, as they get older, like my kids,
They're just growing up with it.
Yeah.
My grandchildren just grow up with technology.
Of course, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. They know about
It's
it.
part of what they are.
Yeah.
It's part of who they are.
Yeah.
And
That's kind of interesting.
I think about my grandfather a lot. My grandfather was born in the city of Vancouver on December 27th, 1899.
Wow.
So
Okay.
his age changed with every year of the decade,
Right.
or the century, I'm sorry.
Right.
And when he lived in Vancouver, at what is now 3rd and Burrard, he was able to see the first automobile in Vancouver, the first airplane,
Yeah.
the first electric lights. He saw a man walk on the moon. he saw the personal computer and the cell phone.
Right.
And that happened in the span of his lifetime, which is almost 90 years.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine what is going to be my grandchildren's experience.
Well, if you think about, I was going to take out my phone. If you think about this, like
Yeah.
I remember the first computer where at one place I worked, it brought in the computer and it took up this room, the size of a living room, and only one person knew how to use it. And it took a long time to you know, and the temperature had to be a certain thing.
Yep.
So now we have that huge thing to this.
Well, I often think of my former junior high math teacher, Mr. DePauli, who always said to me, Mr. Carmichael, you're not always going to have a calculator in your pocket. And I say to Mr. DePauli now, wherever he may be, so I do.
And more. And more. Another thing I want to touch on, because what Zoom is going to cut us off if I go too long, but
Okay.
no, I know this is not a civic, like I know this is not our responsibility as far as housing is concerned. It's provincial, right?
Well, everybody has a role to play.
Okay. When I hear affordable housing, it makes me crazy. Well, affordable for who? You know, like I'm lucky I own this place, but I can't move because where would I go? You know, there's nothing to downsize to that I would want to. I wouldn't want to go into another apartment. I would love one of those tiny homes, but we don't have a tiny home community in Chilliwack. That is something I would definitely advocate for.
Well, housing is one of our big issues. We've got an affordability crisis in our housing. And yeah, we do have to start looking at different priorities in how we prioritize the housing we're building. You mentioned condos and apartments. Oh, excuse me. You've mentioned
Answer your call.
Oh,
Answer your call. It's all part of life.
yeah. Sorry about that.
That's
I'll
okay.
turn that off.
That may be beyond my abilities.
You know why I unplugged my intercom? Because it's gone off in the middle of an interview.
And I apologize to
That's
the
all right.
viewers and everybody out there. My
Stuff
mistake.
happens. Don't worry.
But we have to look at the priorities of the community in our future development and our future planning.
Right.
We are over supplied with single family housing. I think we're at a good position with our attached strata condominium townhouses. We will have to be looking at future developments, increasing the amount of mid-rise and high-rise that we are going to be creating. Along with that comes the other pinch that Chilliwack has always faced, is our lack of industrial land. So we have to have a plan in place so that we can provide good family sustaining jobs that are jobs that can be stacked by the hectare.
But you have to have enough money, get paid to afford something. Like right now, my daughter's looking for a place to live. Okay. One bedroom in this area, a one bedroom apartment is like 1,500. And that doesn't include utilities. Like that, in my opinion, is insane. That's just insanity, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not blaming those people that are asking that money, because everybody wants to, like, they made investments in order to, like, bought a house with, say, I'm gonna have an in-law suite and that'll help pay my mortgage or whatever like that. But somewhere we've just gone over the top.
Well, and again, you raise an excellent point. So what are the tools in the city's toolbox that they bring to the table to help, you know, resolve or complete some of these challenges? And the main tool that municipalities have is their land use and planning development process. What can be built and where can we build it? That's great. We don't have according to my contacts, unlike many communities that surround us, Chilliwack doesn't have a land bank
Right, no,
that they can draw from.
right,
And this was concerning to me when I found this out. I asked why. Everybody else does.
mhm,
And this again was choices that have been made over the last few decades.
right,
So, you know, we are starting from a position that's not the greatest, but this is the position we're in, and we have to move forward with it.
right,
So it's going to require a great deal of partnership, not only with senior governments, the province and the federal government, but also with community groups
yes,
and also with private industry. You know, I think building those relationships and using this term to get those relationships in place, along with public confidence that we can actually move forward on this.
yeah,
I really think that we're at a position where we have to undertake a complete reevaluation of our official community plan.
mhm,
I would base that on a model very similar to what was spearheaded by Mayor Clint Hames and
okay,
Councilman Mel Folk,
mhm,
which was an intensive and complete consultation with the entire community and all of the community groups in the community.
right.
And they came up with a great plan. And I'm sorry we haven't been able to repeat that process.
Okay.
So,
No, at the same time, you know, we're talking a lot of negatives, but at the same time, like, I moved here in 1995, and I've seen a lot of positive changes here in Chilliwack,
absolutely.
and I like to see it continue going forward, right? In whatever capacity that means, you know,
Mhm.
as an individual, I can only view it basically through my eyes,
Mhm.
right? But I do like to see. I'm pleased with some of the things, like I said, you know, it's not all doom and gloom.
Oh, no, not at all. Not
Right.
at all. And yes, we've made great strides just in our downtown core in the last, 4 years.
Right.
4 very short years. That included a pandemic and
Oh, gosh, yeah,
a heat dome and a flood of epic proportions. This community shows that they can face challenges head on.
yeah,
And when we're together, we can get things done.
right.
And
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah.
And one final question, because like I've interviewed our current mayor quite often, and I get to tease him.
yeah,
So if you become the mayor, if you win, I want to continue to teasing the mayor. When you're on my show,
Absolutely.
I expect you to go along with it. It's
Yeah.
just going to be part of your job.
no, it is part of the job.
Okay, there you go. And I'm gonna be, I'm just putting this out there, people, because it's fun. I'm planning a Chilliwack Cupcake Festival.
I saw that. You tagged me on that
Okay, and I
on
expect,
December 2nd.
yes, I'd expect the whole council to help me with this. It's gonna be right across Chilliwack. I want to flood, not me personally, but with a group of people, flood everybody with a cupcake. Like, just imagine, keep Chilliwack smiling, have a cupcake.
Well, I think it's a wonderful idea. I would be more than welcome to participate in that and help in any way that I can, whether I'm the mayor or not.
Okay, sounds good. I'm gonna hold you to that.
Well, please do. I've got a strong commitment to this community. I was one of the founding members of the Chilliwack Citizens for Change.
Oh, you were, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
and I've tried to give as much of myself as I can to the community. It's not always easy when you work for a railroad,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
when you're going to work, you just don't know when you're going home.
Yeah, I didn't know a lot about you with coming in here, and then I thought, well, that's okay, because like I know I could go online and do a little research and stuff, but I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it a little bit different, because I know about some of the other people that become my friends or whatever that are running for either trustee or Amber. I know Amber who's running for council, right?
Yeah.
And I've known her for years, so it's kind of interesting to then interview somebody who I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
kind of got a different perspective. Anyway, we're going to end it there because I don't want to be cut off. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you ever so much for doing this. I really like that we're able to get the word out that,
Yeah.
you know what, there is a contest here, that there are ideas that have to be considered.
And it's important for everyone to get out and vote. You know, this is our duty. You know, I was going to say bitching. I shouldn't say bitching on the, too late. I don't edit. You know, we have no right to complain if we don't go out there and put ourselves out a little bit and vote, because it's just not fair otherwise, right? And your vote does matter. I know a lot of people think, oh, well, how can I make change? I'm just one person. But if everybody thought that way, nothing would ever get done.
Well, as I say, if we don't ask for better, we're not likely to get it.
Exactly.
And better takes effort.
Yes.
So why don't we all just work for better?
Sounds good. Okay, with that, people, remember to be nice, okay? And peace out.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.